Yes, crew, this is Jacky Murda here in Bristol with AfterDark.co. Respect.
Cool, so I wanted to chat to you about what you've done today. So you went to Passion Radio, didn't you, today? So
yeah, it was crowded. There was like 15 people in that little teeny room, and so it was fun. Pull the fader down and have everybody in the room sing along. And
yeah, of course.
Bristol is like my #1 town in the UK for playing. I play more in Bristol than any other. Almost like Bristol adds up for everybody else in the UK in terms of the frequency. I come here, and Bristol is like the most intense music scene in terms of people really being into music and not so much into the social aspect. Whereas in London, it seems to be more of a social situation. You know, in different cities, and it's different. You know, but here in Bristol, definitely the focus seems to be more on new music without really caring about who's famous or not, but just some new sounds and people just, and something new, and they just put their ear to it. AfterDark.co, you don't know, we got the flow.
So you're playing tonight at the Bank in Stokes Croft. Now, are you playing not a jungle set?
No.
You're playing something different, and I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Well, a few years back, I was feeling like really constrained by jungle. Like there was feeling that you had to do things a certain way, and always it seemed a little bit too formulaic, and I wanted to express different things musically. So I started some other projects. I started a new label called Little Island, and the first projects that I released was with a guy out of Brighton called Keon, and did Keon on Murder tracks with Junior Biles and Junior Mervin and Richie Spice and a bunch of vocals that I had recorded, and then started working on some other stuff with my housemate Max Power, an Austrian producer, and we have a live project called Jing Bong Thing, which is like dubbing everything. So basically what we do is we play live. We have 2 computers, 2 Ableton synced up by ear. We don't use MIDI sync, and then we've got a bunch of different analog boxes that I've made or designed or modified over the years, and delays and stuff, and we just sort of do like a live dubbing session. And it started off primarily really reggae flavored, and then as we progressed with jamming and doing live performances, we started incorporating more and more elements that were totally disparate. African elements, samba elements, rock and roll elements, house elements, and taking bass lines not just from reggae anymore, but taking like some disco bass line or some electro bass line or drum and bass line, and sort of taking elements, rhythmical elements and bass line elements from disparate bass musics or from disparate cultural areas, Africa, South America, the Middle East, America, Mexico, like, Afro, Latin, Asian, whatever. Whatever kind of things we felt like could go with other things, and the freedom of this project is incredible. We can really mix anything we want with anything, and that's kind of how we do the Jing Bong Thing. And it's primarily, really dubby, lots of bass, and dubbed out, polyrhythms, and lots of sort of ragga vocals and interesting other little vocals. Like we did some projects where I did an album called The Dead Album, which of course I never released. I just play live, like most of the stuff. And we took like vocals from Jim Morrison or John Lennon or Bob Marley or people who have already passed, and did a whole series of remixes just with vocalists that, and so just kind of being free with creative ideas and not really feeling constrained by the genre. And so for the past few years I've been working on, I just finished an album with the Itchy and Jacky project called Jamaica, and I've remixed a lot of my old jungle hits, as well as some other stuff I did only on dubstep, and some other stuff I only had on reggae dubplate. And this is like ragga dubstep that's 140 and really bassy and really melodic, up to a point where the big solo mid-rangey synthesizer comes in screaming, and that's Itchy Robot on the bass lines and me doing musical stuff. And we're working together on this one. This album is just coming out in a month, distributed by ST Holdings, and we got vocals by Don Penn and John Mason. I don't know, there's like 15 vocalists on the record. They're all big foundation artists. So you know, the past 4 years I've sort of been exploring other ways to express myself musically with the other ideas I had that I really didn't feel like could express in a jungle format. And then just recently in the past year, I've come back to jungle in a really hard way, and my crew has been, you know, up in Aries, in Toughest, up in Birmingham. We'd just be working on dubs a lot. And, you know, we had a big sound clash at Outlook, and it was even bigger than last year, so we built a lot of tunes just for the sound clash, about 70 dubs actually, just for one clash. I mean, of course, these are for using afterwards, but we kind of did it in our mind. We built 70 dub plates just for a sound clash so that we would be like murdering, you know? So I've been really heavily back into jungle lately, so it's cool to come and play, you know, here in Bristol, these kind of dubs that I've been working on that really I don't get a chance to play for most audiences, you know. Being booked for jungle all the time, I get to sneak in a few other tempos and dubby tracks in the set, but the majority of the set is high energy, you know, ragged jungle. So being able to play dubby, deep, more relaxed, sitting back, kind of, you know, rubber dub style music is gonna be fun.
After dark, you don't know, we got the flow.
So going on to the sort of the dub element of things, you've played at Tokyo Dub a few times.
Yeah, I'm a resident at Tokyo Dub.
You mentioned Aries as well, and he's also a resident.
Aries is also there. Basically, if it's not me, it's Aries who's playing. We alternate, and so we'll be playing maybe big show at future Tokyo Dub. You know, who knows? You know, you never know what's gonna happen.
Well, exactly that.
Yeah, but Tokyo Dub is basically just took over Bristol. The men who run it they don't mess around. You know, last time I played, I was wandering around in the street, and the promoter came up to me and paid me my money before, like, I, you know, was even in the venue. I was just in the street talking to other artists, like, not even outside the venue, halfway between the hotel. Like,
wow.
Yeah, and came up to me, Jacky, boom, and paid me like that. Everything is straight above the board. The place is rammed. The business is completely well done, and the selection of artists, all of my colleagues who I play with, there's always a really good selection of different musical styles all in the place, and mostly all really focused on the dub element. And you know, I'm lucky enough that they bring me around and put me up in the jungle room, and you know, it's a good vibes, because I really feel like, you know, there's always a changing guard of promoters coming and going, and pretty much every single show that I've played with Tokyo Dub has been, you know, rammed full of fucking people and full of vibes, and you know, so.
It's fair to say that Tokyo Dub itself is actually smashing it in Bristol. It's one of the biggest.
They're running it right now, without a doubt. You know, they just took over, and it, you know, there's no real sign of them letting up. Looks like, you know, right now they're running things. They have a really good organization, and they have a really good selection of mixing up the artists that they put. So so good show to play. You know?
Yeah, completely. On Sunday you've got you playing at the Croft with Aries, is that right? You're doing
on Sunday it's Briz Fest, and my colleague Carousel is a really incredible vocalist. He just finished an album that's not jungle. It's like I guess hip hop. So we'll be supporting, you know, him at that party, and playing with Aries, and coming back to Bristol. Tomorrow I got to go to Leeds and play sub-dub, and then come back to Bristol. But it's not too far, a couple of hours here or there. So.
And you're looking forward to Brizfest?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be, well, they sold out.
It's my first Brizfest. I've never played Brizfest before.
Right, okay.
So last year I played St. Paul's, which was banging. And it's a real pity that they took away St. Paul's from Bristol. St. Paul's is incredible, blows away Nottingham. You know, the vibes on the street of Bristol Carnival was just so, like, there's no police, like nobody doing crazy shit, nobody really worried about anybody doing crazy shit, everybody just really free, really almost an innocent vibe. And it's you know, I love the one in London too, but there's a huge contrast in feeling between Bristol and London, and you can see it in the manifestation of a festival or a party. You know, if you go to a London thing, you can see the vibes, how it manifests, and if you go to a Bristol thing, you can see how those ones manifest. You know.
Well, hopefully next year we'll have St. Paul's Carnival again.
Yeah, maybe they'll bring it back. I mean, there was thousands and thousands of people having a great time. I can't imagine they wouldn't want to do it again.
So, So what's in the future for Jacky Murda?
Well, you know, more music. This year, a lot more jungle. In the next couple weeks, 3 weeks or something like that, comes out the Itchy and Jacky album. And at that point, I'm sort of putting this sort of dubstep feeling off to the side a little bit and been focusing really strictly on jungle. And we have a new album that we're working on right now, which is called Chopstick in England. And we're also working on an album with Demolition Man, and I'm not really sure whether we're going to make both of those projects be separate or if they're going to eventually coalesce into a single album that's really based on my focus of working with UK vocalists and artists at the moment. As you know, like if you listen to older tunes of Chopstick and stuff, you can see that I almost exclusively voice Jamaican artists for 12 years now, and it's only been in the past 4 or 5 years that I've really been focusing on what's happening here in the UK, and on the huge amount of UK artists that you have. It's amazing how deep it is. Like, this island is full of incredible talent, and while I do have the good fortune to work with some of the more well-known, you know, few people that everybody knows, there's huge universe of artists that are not even known. And so I've sort of left off of looking at Kingston and looking more at London, kind of the shift gone east, and so the next manifestations of Chopstick are going to be largely or almost completely UK vocals, and you know, artists like YT, Rebel MC, Top Cat, Tenorfly, of course Demolition Man, who's been working with Chopsticks for 12 years now, the one UK artist, you know, people like Daddy Freddy, General Levy, Sunti, Deadly Hunter, Solo Banton, Josh Screechy, they're all on this next album. So really focusing heavy on the UK for the next moment, and really going back to the jungle roots that I was known for since I really came out.
AfterDark.co, you don't know, we got the flow.
Thank you for spending the time to talk to us today.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. After Dark.
Yeah.
Respect. Yeah, I want to give a shout out to my mom. Hi, Mom. I always like to do that.
Yeah. And if anyone wants to find out any more about you, have you got a web link? Or
yeah, just Google Jacky Murda. Google Chopstick Dubplate, Jing Bong Ting, Itchy and Jacky, Kinda Murda, Little Island Records. And you'll go to a link. There's a SoundCloud, Jacky Murda, and on all of my 5 projects that I'm involved at the current moment are all there for download. There's mad amounts of stuff to download for free, to listen. There's mixes with hundreds of tunes that I'll never ever release, and you can listen to them and, you know, have a good time, you know. So, you know, respect all the ganja smokers once again, you know what I'm saying. We got enough ganja tunes. Respect all the lovers out there. We got enough lovers tunes in the place. Respect all the real jungle heads. You know what's up. Chopstick in 2012 and AfterDark. Yeah. Done, man. It's good.
Anytime we come, dangerous.